Hi everyone, welcome to this video where you will learn about how to pass the AWS Certified Developer Associate exam. I am Aishwarya Sood. I am a software engineer and AWS trainer by profession. I am AWS Certified Cloud Practitioner, AWS Certified Solutions Architect Associate, AWS Certified Developer Associate, and also an AWS Academy accredited educator. You can connect with me on LinkedIn, and to quickly view my profile, you can scan this QR code. In this video, I'll explain why you should get an AWS certification, what are the benefits of it, what all certifications are available. I'll also discuss the learning path for AWS Certified Developer Associate certification in detail and what the exam pattern looks like, and also what are the standard AWS resources which can help you in passing this certification exam. I'll also discuss a few sample questions and the strategy to understand each question and find the accurate answer in the given time. So let's first start with seeing what are the benefits of getting an AWS certification. So out of so many reasons, thousands of reasons for getting certified by AWS, here I have listed out a few main reasons which we can't deny at all. First reason is that it validates the technical skills. So you might have some knowledge about cloud and AWS, but to validate it and get a proof of validation, you need to get certified by AWS. Next is that it is globally valid. An AWS certification is globally valid, which means it will be accepted and also valued all around the world equally. It also boosts your profile because an AWS certification is valued by employers all around the world as it shows your dedication and expertise in the AWS domain. And cloud computing is a highly demanded skill these days, and because of the rise in cloud adoption by the majority of the businesses, and moreover AWS leads the cloud market. That's why it will add a lot of value to your resume and it will eventually increase the visibility of your resume. Also, it can get you higher paychecks. Having a certification in your profile which shows the relevant skills can get you paychecks that are higher than the average. You just need to acquire the required skills and the right certification, and you will be good to go for a dream job. Next is it enables access to join AWS LinkedIn community. So once you are AWS certified, you will be eligible to join AWS LinkedIn community, where AWS certification viewers, achievers can view and connect worldwide AWS certified professionals and also receive multiple worldwide event or AWS conferences invites, study material, practice exams, launch announcements to be prepared for the further AWS projects or the certification exams. Also, you become eligible to become a subject matter expert. Once you are AWS certified, you will also be eligible to participate in this program, that is the AWS Subject Matter Expert Program or SMEs. Subject matter experts are an important part of the exam development process. Apart from these benefits, there are so many other benefits as well, like you will get discount vouchers for the next certification. You will also get access to the official AWS certified merchandise store and many more things. Now let's see what are all the AWS certifications that are available. So there are a total of 11 unique certifications which are divided into 4 levels based on the difficulty. Our focus here will be on the AWS Certified Developer Associate Certification exam, which is a level 200 exam, or you can say an intermediate level exam. Let's see more details about this exam on the certification website. So here you can access the information about the AWS Certified Developer Associate exam. The exam code is DVA-C01. That is the version 1 of the exam. So this certification helps organization identify and develop talent with the critical skills for implementing cloud initiatives, and earning AWS Certified Developer Associate will validate the ability to write and deploy cloud-based applications. And we will also see who should take this exam. They recommend that you should have at least one knowledge of at least one high-level programming language, and also at least 6 months to 1 year of experience, hands-on experience with AWS development services. But that's a recommendation. You can take more time, you can take less time, that is up to you. And it is a $150 worth exam. You will get 130 minutes to finish the exam. The level is associate, as I just told you that it's a level 200 exam, and the format is that there will be 65 questions. So we will be talking about the blueprint of the exam in the coming slides. And let's see who should go for this particular exam. So who should take the AWS Certified Developer Associate version 1? So if you are a developer and want to skill up regarding the databases, the containers and full stack development, this exam is perfect for you. This exam will test your knowledge on how to do the authentication with your web applications, computing such as running applications on virtual servers, running serverless applications, implement caching for scaling and performance, different types of storage, etc. You will also understand the different aspects of software engineering as well as continuous integration, continuous development, and continuous delivery. So if you want to go to the next level as a developer, this exam is a perfect choice for you. Now let's see how we can actually prepare for this exam. We have seen the details and who is the intended audience also, but how to prepare for this exam. So there are several resources available for AWS certification exams preparation, which are provided by AWS itself, and most of them are available for free of cost. In the coming slides, I'll take you through many of these resources. I'll tell you how you can access them and how they can be beneficial for you and for your exam preparation. So let's first see the official learning path that is recommended by AWS to pass this certification. So first step here is that you can take the AWS Technical Essentials instructor-led class or a digital training, and it's optional to be AWS Certified Cloud Practitioner. This is an optional step. And after this foundational step, you can go for developing on AWS. That's a classroom training, instructor-led training, and after finishing this training, you can go for the exam readiness workshop for the developer associate. What happens in this exam readiness workshop basically is all the concepts will be brushed up, and many practice exam questions will be discussed, and how to find the answer for each question efficiently. So these kind of things will be prepared and they will be discussed in such a workshop. You can register for this as well. Then you will be ready to take up the AWS Certified Developer Associate and pass it. Once you are AWS Certified Developer Associate, you can go for the next level. Then you can take the Advanced Developing on AWS training. That's again the classroom training. If you are not preferred for if you do not want to take the classroom trainings, you can also go for free digital training that is available at AWS training, about which I'll be telling you on the coming slides. So there are many resources that are available for the preparation. Let's start one by one. So first resource that is there is AWS Learning Library. This is a place where you can access hundreds of learning videos on different topics. On completion of each learning, you also get a certificate of completion from AWS immediately. And this is the URL where you can access the Learning Library by AWS. And let me show you how it looks like. So this is how the AWS Learning Library looks like. The ones that come under digital training, they are available for free of cost. You can also opt for an instructor-led classroom training. You can filter them based on the preferred skill level, like what is the skill level? Are you looking for fundamental, intermediate or advanced? You can filter them based on the role, like right now we are looking for the developer. So it will show you all the relevant training that you should watch or you can enroll for. Being into the developer role, you can filter them based on the language and many more as per your requirements. There are a lot of video trainings that are available here, and all of them are like short ones, long ones. As per your preferences, you can watch any of these learning videos and it will be very helpful for you. Let's look at the another resource that is available. Next is AWS Self-Paced Labs. So in order to get hands-on experience on AWS, you can use the self-paced labs that are provided by AWS. They provide a complete step-by-step guide for each lab, giving you a chance to practice various use cases and real-world scenarios. And you can access the self-paced labs at this URL, aws.amazon.com/training/self-paced labs. And this is how the self-paced labs look like. So you can opt for any self-paced labs. Many of them are available for free. And the amazing thing is that you do not even need to have your own AWS account in order to perform these labs. And you can check them out. A complete list will be given there. You can go for introductory labs or for another labs of your choice. Let's look at the another resource that is available. Next is FAQs. So this resource includes the most frequently asked questions about all the services offered by AWS. You can check the FAQs or the frequently asked questions at this URL, that is https://aws.amazon.com/FAQs. Let's look at few of the FAQs. So here's how you can access all the FAQs. Like, let's say I want to access the FAQs for EC2 itself. So I will just open the EC2 FAQ and I can see all the frequently asked questions here. From the basic ones to the intermediate to the advanced level, every kind of FAQs are there. The general, the instance types, the storage, everything that is related to EC2. Very detailed information is given about each topic here. So you can look for the FAQs regarding each topic along that is there with the EC2. Same way you can access the FAQs for another services that is relevant to your certification. Like for developer associate, the services that are commonly appeared in the exam, they include all the development tools, the SQS, SNS, the KMS, IAM, Cognito, and all of the other developer services like X-Ray, Code Commit, Code Pipeline. You can read the FAQs for those services before going for the exam. Let's look into the another resource, that is white papers. So if you need more comprehensive information about various solutions implemented on AWS, reference architecture diagrams, reference material, etc., you can browse to this resource, which include all the white papers and the technical information that is authored by the AWS and AWS community. So let me show you how it looks like. So this is how you can access the white papers. These are like available on many different topics. If you want much comprehensive information about each topic or the solution that is implemented on AWS, like open banking on AWS, building an AWS perimeter, and high performance computing on AWS, and many more such solutions. If you want to read the white papers, you can access this resource. Let's see what is the next resource that is available. Next is AWS documentation. Let's see how does it look like and what's it all about. So you can access the documentation at this URL, docs.aws.amazon.com/index.html, and here's all the documentation available. So if you want user guides, developer guides, or tutorials for any service on AWS, you can check out the documentation of AWS services, which will give you guidance for implementing various solutions on AWS. And specifically if you are a beginner, like you will need some kind of guidance and help in implementing the solutions on AWS services, so you can take help, a very big help from the AWS documentation. So let's see the documentation for AWS Lambda. It contains a lot of information and it's seriously a very helpful resource. Like if I open the developer guide for AWS Lambda, so it starts with what is AWS Lambda, moving to other things. When should I use Lambda features, getting started. So it will tell you the basic configurations, how you can set up the Lambda, and many more things. Just scroll down and there are many solutions and the guidance is given for all of them. And next resource that is there is events and webinars. So let's see how we can access the events. So that's the URL, aws.amazon.com/events, and this is the events and webinars page. If you want to expand your knowledge on AWS, you can attend the various webinars and events that are organized by AWS frequently on various topics, and you can select and register for any of the events that are present. So you can scroll down and see a big list that is available there, especially if you want to register for an exam readiness workshop, which I was telling earlier in the learning path. You can register for a free exam readiness workshop that will be live. You can register from here itself. You can filter from the left side and you will be able to view the schedule, like whichever suits you. You can register for that particular exam readiness workshop when you are ready to take up the developer associate exam or any exam, whichever you are preparing. You can take up the exam readiness workshop from here also, and you can also attend other events and webinar as well. Next resource that we have is exam guides and the sample questions. So before starting to prepare for any exam, please go through the exam guide of that particular certification. It includes a blueprint of the exam pattern, the passing marks, the domains covered, and a lot more. Let me show you how it looks like. So we can access it through this page, aws.amazon.com/certification/certification-prep, and here are all the exam guides and the blueprints available. So now we are talking about the developer associate. So I'll go there. I can see what are the relevant training that is there, what are the recommended FAQs and the white papers. I can register for an exam readiness training, or I can book a practice exam, or I can schedule my real exam as well. So for now, I am just talking about the exam guide and the sample questions. Let me open and we will download both the exam guide and the sample questions. So this blueprint document, this includes a lot of information about the exam, like the target candidate and what is the recommended knowledge and the exam content, the kind of questions that will be there, how the scoring will be done, and the content outline, the content distribution, and detailed explanation of all the domains that will be covered in the exam. And if you scroll more down, it includes an appendix also, which tools, technologies, and concepts might be covered in the exam, and the services and features that can be covered in the exam, and also the out of scope AWS services and features which will not be covered in the exam. So you can refer to the exam guide for all of this information, and I showed you the way how you can access it. And if you want to practice for some questions, you can access the practice exam questions as well. There are a total of 10 questions available in this document that is given by AWS, and also at the end you will be able to access all the answers and why each answer is right, and the references to the relevant documentation and other links are also given there, so that you can get an idea what kind of questions will be coming in the exam and how to understand the questions. Let's check out the next resource. So next and the last resource that we have available here is Ramp Up Guides. The Ramp Up guides include a variety of resources that help to build your skills and knowledge of the AWS cloud. So before taking any AWS exam, please check out this Ramp Up guide. This is a seriously amazing resource. And I personally like it very much, and each guide features carefully selected digital training, classroom courses, videos, white papers, certifications, and more at one place. So let's open the Ramp Up guide and see how does it look like. So here's the website for the Ramp Up guides, aws.amazon.com/training/ramp-up-guides. So you can filter them based on the role. So like now we are talking about the developer, we can download the guide for the developer. There are many more available as well based on the solution or the role. So for the developer, this is how it looks like. It includes all the, like, to build the fundamentals, what all training and the white papers or the web pages or the workshops you can follow. And if you want to build modern applications, you can follow these trainings. Okay, the links for the classroom trainings, digital trainings, everything is given there, and also the blogs. Okay, and many of them are free trainings, paid trainings. It's a mix, like everything is available at one place. And if you scroll down, all the links to the self-paced labs are also given, like which particular self-paced labs you need to follow when you are preparing for the developer exam. Also the learning library, the podcast, user group, white paper, and guides, everything is given here. So that's why I was saying that it's an amazing resource, and because you are getting everything at the single place and all the links are available here itself. So that was about Ramp Up guide, and let's see what's next. So apart from this, let's look at the exam blueprint for the Certified Developer Associate exam. Many of the things I have already told you. Let's look at few more things. So in the exam there will be either multiple choice or multiple response questions. Multiple choice questions are the ones in which you will have to select one correct answer, whereas in multiple response questions you will be asked to select the 2 or 3 correct answers. Then the total marks for the exam are 1000 marks. There will be a total of 65 questions in the exam, and you need to score at least 720 marks out of 1000 to pass this exam and to become AWS Certified Developer Associate. And the time given to complete the exam is 130 minutes. Now let's discuss about few sample questions. So here I'll be discussing 4 or 5 sample questions, and I'll tell you what strategy you have to follow to answer a question accurately in the given time. So here comes the first question. You are a developer at ABC company and your manager asked you to write a custom script that will run on an EC2 instance. The purpose of this script is to fetch the instance ID and the local IP address of the EC2 instance. You came to know that you can fetch it through a certain URL. Which of the following is the correct URL? So for any question that is given, we first have to look at the keywords. That is the key thing. That is the thing that you need to follow in the exam as well. Like, this is a complete question, but out of the entire statement, we have to find the keywords which will help in answering the question very quickly. So what are the keywords here? For the reference, I have marked them here. First is fetch the instance ID and the local IP address of the EC2 instance. That means basically we want to fetch the metadata, that is the data about the EC2 instance. And also you came to know that there's a certain URL for that. That means we have to select the URL that is used to fetch the metadata from a running EC2 instance. So for that, let's look into the options. First option, http://169.254.169.254/latest/meta-data. This looks fine, but let me look at the other options as well. Second option and third option is for the user data, to fetch the user data, okay, and B option is right one, whereas C is wrong one, to fetch the user data basically. But here we are not required to fetch the user data, because user data is the script that we pass at the EC2 launch time that is used to perform some automated configuration tasks. So we can skip B and C for the given scenario, and the correct URL is 169.254.169.254. That means D option is also wrong, because here the URL is 254.169, which is wrong. The correct one is A option. Let's look into the next question. Sheldon needs a permission to create new repositories in AWS Code Commit so that he can manage the code repositories of all the 5 development teams working with him. He also wants to delete any unused or duplicate repositories. Which of the following permissions should be granted to him, keeping in mind the principle of least privilege? So the question is given. Now let us find the keywords from the question. So the first keyword is create new repositories, delete any unused or duplicate repositories, and we need to give the permissions for this action, and we also need to follow the principle of least privilege, which says we only have to grant the permissions which are genuinely required. We should grant the least required permissions. Very restrictive policies we should give them. Okay, we do not have to give like if somebody needs EC2 read access and we are giving them EC2 full access. No, that's not a safe practice. If somebody requires some policy, some permission on a specific resource and for a specific action, we should give according to that only the least required permissions. So let's look into the options that are there. First option is code commit create repository and code commit delete repository. This looks fine, but let's look into the other options as well. Code commit git pull and code commit git push. So these permissions are incorrect, like because the code commit git pull permission simply pulls the information from a code commit repository to a local repo, and the code commit git push permission is just used to push the information from a local repo to a code commit repo. Code commit create branch and code commit delete branch, they are also incorrect, because these enable you to create a specific branch and not a repository. For this scenario, you have to use the permissions which are enabling you to create the repositories and deleting the repositories. Code commit star, which is a D option, is also incorrect, because although this permission will allow all the actions to the code repository, including these two as well, but this entails a security risk and violates the standard security practice of granting only the permissions that are required to perform certain tasks. That is the principle of least privilege. So it is violating that. That's why A option is the right one, because it will enable the Sheldon to create the repository and also delete the repository. Let's look at the next question now. So you have hosted an application on an EC2 instance that processes a large stream of data and stores the result to a DynamoDB table. There's a requirement to detect new entries in the table, then automatically trigger a Lambda function to run some tests to verify the process data. Which of the following options can satisfy the requirement with minimal configuration? So that was a question. Now let's look at the keywords that are there. So the keywords here are that the data is sent into the DynamoDB table. The requirement is to detect new entries from the DynamoDB table and then automatically trigger a Lambda function to run some tests test to verify the process data. And what should we do to satisfy the requirement with the minimal configuration? So let's look into the options now. First option says detect new entries in the DynamoDB table using Systems Manager automation, then automatically invoke the Lambda function for processing. This is incorrect because Systems Manager automation service is primarily used to simplify the common maintenance and deployment tasks for Amazon EC2 instances and other AWS resources. It doesn't have the capability to detect the new entries in the DynamoDB table. Let's look into the another option now. B option says run the Lambda function using SNS each time the ECS cluster successfully processes the financial data. This option is also incorrect because you do not need to create an SNS topic just to invoke the Lambda functions. And C option, enable DynamoDB streams to detect new entries and automatically trigger Lambda function. Yes, this seems good, but let me just have a look at the D option as well. Set up a CloudWatch alarm to automatically trigger the Lambda function whenever a new entry is created in the DynamoDB table. But it is also incorrect because CloudWatch alarms only monitor the service metrics, not changes in the DynamoDB table data. So for the C option, let's get back onto that one. Since Amazon DynamoDB is integrated with AWS Lambda so that you can create the triggers which are nothing but the pieces of code that automatically respond to events in the DynamoDB streams. With triggers, you can build applications that react to data modifications in the DynamoDB tables. So if you enable the DynamoDB streams on a table, you can associate the stream ARN with the Lambda function that you write. Immediately after an item in the table is modified, a new record appears in the table stream and AWS Lambda polls the stream and invokes your Lambda function synchronously when it detects new stream records. That's why C is the right option. Let's look into the next question. Your Lambda function fetches some static data with the size of 50 MB from a third-party provider over the internet every time the function is invoked. This adds significant time to the total processing, which greatly affects the performance of the serverless application. Which of the following options can improve the performance of your function? So let's look into the keywords of this question. The static data is being fetched from the Lambda function. The size is around 50 MB and it is like adding a significant time to the overall processing, and we need to improve the performance. We need to find some better solution. So the first option is increase the CPU allocation of the function by submitting a service limit to increase increase ticket to AWS. This is not possible in AWS. You just choose the amount of memory you want for your function, which will then automatically allocate the proportional CPU power to your function. In addition, the root cause of this issue is not the CPU nor the memory, but the 50 MB file that is always overloaded by your function. Second option says allocate more memory to your function. Allocating more memory to your function is again incorrect because this will just increase the amount of memory available to the function during the execution, but it will not solve the underlying issue. So we can skip A and B, both of these options. Then C option, store the external files in the /tmp directory of the execution context, which you can reuse for succeeding invocations. This looks somewhat correct, but we can have a look at the D option as well. Use unreserved concurrency for your function. This is not right. This is incorrect because the issue doesn't relate with the concurrency. Just as mentioned, the root cause the root cause is not related to any of this. Root cause is that the function downloads a large file every time it is invoked. So let's come back to the C option again. After lambda function is executed, AWS lambda, what it will do? It will maintain the execution context for some time in anticipation of another lambda function invocation. In effect, the service freezes the execution content after a lambda function completes, and then the context is reused for the next lambda. And if AWS lambda chooses to reuse the context when the lambda function is invoked again, each execution the context provides around 512 MB of additional disk space in the /tmp directory that is mentioned here, and the directory content remains when the execution content is frozen. So it provides a transient cache, and that can be used for multiple invocations, and we can add some extra code to check if the cache has the data that we stored earlier. And hence the correct answer in this given scenario is C option, that we can store some external files in the /tmp directory. That's why the correct option is C. Let's look into the another question. You have migrated an application from a local Linux server to a Lambda function to save costs. When invoked, Lambda function shows an unable to import module error. As a developer, how can you fix the error? So first of all, let's look into the keywords from this question. That your application is now on Lambda function, and it is showing the error unable to import module. So as a developer, how we can fix this error? Let's look into the options that are available. A option says import the missing modules in the Lambda code. The Lambda function will automatically install them when invoked. This is incorrect because this will still result in the same error, because the Lambda function won't be able to recognize the modules that are defined in your code. Next option, download the missing modules in the lib directory, package all files under the lib directory into a zip file and upload it to AWS Lambda. This is also incorrect, because this won't work, because you are just effectively uploading the modules themselves. The modules and your application code must be under the same folder before packaging them into a zip file. So we can skip A and B, and let's look at the next option. Install the missing modules locally to your applications folder, package the folder into a zip file and upload it to the AWS Lambda. Yes, this seems correct, but let's look into the D option as well. Run a Linux command inside the Lambda function to install the missing modules. So this option is also incorrect, although you can run a Linux commands via custom runtimes in AWS Lambda, but you can't install dependencies directly on a Lambda function. That's why C option is the correct one. And that was about all the sample questions that we have seen, and this is how you will have to answer the questions in the exam. You just have to look at the keywords and relate the keywords to the concept that comes to your mind, and you will be able to find the answer quickly. And that's how you can find the accurate answers in the given time, in a short time. Now let me tell you few more tips for the exam. So the first thing is that the questions are going to be scenario based questions, as we have just seen in the few sample questions. So you need to understand the concepts thoroughly. You need to understand them in detail so that you can relate them. You can relate the keywords to the concept and you can understand the question. Next is that you need to know how many ways you can manage AWS resources, and you have to practice all the ways. Make sure you have hands-on experience in managing resources by AWS Management Console, CLI and SDK as well. Because you can encounter some of the questions that might be API related. So that's why make sure you have some experience with all of these resources. And you need to know different types of encryption options that are available, such as in Amazon S3, KMS, and understand the concepts on how to use encryption in EBS, encryption options available in RDS as well. Then you need to understand the different deployment strategies, such as all at once and in-place deployments, rolling deployments, blue-green deployments, and immutable deployments. Next, AWS IAM and AWS Cognito are very important concepts that you might encounter several questions on these services, and also AWS STS, the important API calls with the STS. Please make sure you go through them. Then serverless compute, that is Lambda. You need to understand how to use the execution context for the reuse, how to use environment variables, how to handle dependencies in the function code, and how to reduce your deployment package for the runtime, Lambda layers, and how and why to improve the memory of your Lambda. Then these services for the container management, ECS and EKS, and also DynamoDB, DynamoDB global tables, secondary indexes, and DynamoDB streams, and then RDS as well. Next, you need to make sure that you have thorough understanding of CloudFormation template, like what are all the sections that are included in the CloudFormation template, Amazon SQS, SNS, X-ray for all the debugging purposes, step functions, kinesis, like you should understand when to use CloudWatch, when to use X-ray, and also all the development services of AWS, like code commit, code pipeline, code deploy, all of these services, whatever are involved in the CI/CD, make sure you are clear with all of them, and make sure you are taking some frequent notes so that you can quickly go through your notes, the quick pointers itself, so that you can quickly go through them once before the final exam. And I hope this will help you in the preparation for the exam. Next is the mode of the exam. So you can take the exam in two ways, either through a Pearson VUE or PSI center near you, or from home also. That's the online option is also available now. To schedule your exam, you need to visit this website, and you can choose the mode of exam during the scheduling process itself. So that was about how you can prepare for the AWS Certified Developer Associate exam with all the resources that are available. I hope this will help you a lot in your preparation for the exam. All the best.